Randy Spivey, the CEO and founder of the Center for Personal Protection and Safety, and I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to talk about the CPPS Safe Workplace Certification. What is it, and what are some of the benefits that organizations are receiving from achieving it? To start with, the CPPS Safe Workplace Certification is an organizational certification that is issued by CPPS as a third-party entity that says that an organization has become consistent with the national standards that are out there right now for the areas of workplace violence prevention and response, as well as OSHA directives. And because we've worked with groups like the FBI, Homeland Security, and about half the Fortune 100 corporations, we're able to benchmark them against these large organizations to build in best practices. So when we partner with an organization to help create and then implement a holistic program, everything from starting with policies and procedures to 4 different levels of training: awareness training for all the employees, enhanced training for managers and supervisors, detailed training for the threat assessment or threat management team training, and then high-level training for the corporation or organizational leadership. Those 4 tiers of training, as well as real-time threat assessment support, when you put all that together, that is what creates an organization qualifying to receive the Safe Workplace Certification. So what are some of the benefits from that? Well, because it's a holistic approach, we're not talking about having one video on active shooter response, or we've trained our threat assessment team and we have somebody we work with on the outside whenever we need to. But because it's holistic in nature, everything from policy to the C-suite and training for everybody within the organization, it gives a level of buy-in when HR and security approach organizational leadership and say, hey, we need to have a program in place. Here is one that has been vetted and implemented by thousands of organizations around the country. Then they are able to have something that the leadership of the organization, from the CEO to the board of directors, say, oh, this makes sense. And so we want to invest our time and resources to have something that everybody recognizes the need now. It wasn't always that way, but everybody realized that violence is increasing in society, and the workplace is affected by that as well. So having a holistic, systematic approach is a real benefit when trying to get organizational buy-in from the leadership. Another one has to do with because the program is consistent with these different standards. It provides a certain level of liability coverage when we talk about if there is an incident that occurs. The Safe Workplace Certification doesn't mean that an incident cannot occur in an organization any more than putting your child through driver's education training means they may not get in a fender bender. But what it means is that the organization has taken a serious approach to keeping their safe workplace free of violence and threats of violence. And so it gives in fact, I've been involved in court cases where they looked at these standards and wanted to know, during the deposition, did this organization have this? Did they have this line item? Did they have this line item? Well, the Safe Workplace Certification ensures that those line items are being met, and it can lessen the liability exposure if an incident were to occur. Another benefit is it may actually provide some level of relief when it comes to premiums for liability insurance. Not saying that Safe Workplace Certification is an instant discount, but we've talked with the underwriters of very large business-to-business insurance companies about the concept of Safe Workplace Certification, and what we've been told by the people that actually do the underwriting is that if they have, first of all, they love certifications, they said, and they like it because it put things in a box that they can somehow quantify and measure. And so if they have 2 companies side by side and everything's the same except one has a Safe Workplace Certification and one doesn't, what they told us is that they would be inclined to have the premium be less for that company that is Safe Workplace certified. So again, it's not like an automatic 10% discount, but the feedback we received is indeed that it would provide some level of relief on the premium side. Another benefit is, and I didn't see this one coming when we created it a couple of years ago, but that companies and organizations are using the Safe Workplace Certification as a benefit to try and recruit and retain talent. In other words, they say, we are Safe Workplace certified, but our competitors are not, and here's what that means, and we are concerned about your safety and that of your families, And so we're going to invest the time and resources to provide the training and provide the understanding and provide the policies and programmatics around what's required to have a safe workplace. And it can actually be used in both the recruiting and retention of talent. Another benefit of the safe workplace certification is that in the unlikely event that a violent event occurs within that organization that is safe workplace certified, we make our experts available to come in and testify on behalf of the organization if any subsequent litigation occurs, if desired by the organization that's certified. And as I mentioned earlier, being certified doesn't mean that an incident can't happen, but it does mean that the organization is doing the things that are required according to the national standard and OSHA, and it means they've done their due diligence. They've exercised their duty of care to try and prevent the incidents from occurring, and then preparing the people and the organization on how to respond to it if it does occur, following a model of readiness, response, and recovery. Readiness being how do we prevent this from happening, response, okay, a crisis or an incident is occurring, how do we in the moment respond to it, and the recovery, how do we organizationally recover from any violent event. So that's the model that's used in the Safe Workplace Certification. And finally, I would just say that the Safe Workplace Certification provides a certain level of peace of mind, both on the employees and at the organizational level. I was visiting with a CEO of a major clothing manufacturer a couple years ago, and he said to me before we started the training for his company, he said, "Randy, I was driving a couple weeks ago, and I came up to an intersection and somebody jumped out of their car and they were yelling and screaming, and I was really concerned that this thing might turn violent. And I recognize that this violence is increasing and that my employees could be vulnerable." And he said, "I just couldn't live with myself if I knew that there were programs out there to try and prevent violence from happening to my employees, and then what to do if actually violence does break out." So that was his perspective, and to put the program into place gave him a certain level of peace of mind. I also find that when this program is implemented correctly, because the content we talk about transfers not just for the employees, but also their family members. So when the employee knows, what are the indicators that somebody may be progressing towards violence, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's somebody at their children's high school or college, or wherever, the same principles on prevention of violence apply as they would be trained on in the workplace. And certainly, if the worst case were to happen and they find themselves in an active shooter or extreme violence situation at a grocery store, at a shopping mall, at a movie theater, or even at church on Sunday, they have training that they can transfer to their family members, and that gives a certain peace of mind, because I've heard many times after we've done the training that people come up to us afterwards and said, "Thank you so much. I was concerned about this and I didn't know what to tell my son or daughter or significant other, but I do now." And so having that training and have that whole program in place can provide a certain level of peace of mind. So if you have any questions, please get a hold of us at info@cpps.com, and we're going to do a webinar on this on March 9th, and if you go to our website, you'll be able to register, and we're going to go into more detail on what is the Safe Workplace Certification, why it's so valuable at this time, and dig into some of these areas that I talked about already on a deeper level. So I hope you can visit us during that webinar on March 9th, and thanks for taking your time, and let us know if you'd like to have any additional information on the CPPS Safe Workplace Certification.